I'll be showing us how to achieve this gorgeous handkerchief skirt. So if you want to know how to achieve this, do not skip any part of this video. And also do not forget to like, share and subscribe to my channel. I'll be using only 4 yards of this Ankara print for the skirt. So I just cut out 2 inches and I laid the remaining 4 inches. But I separated it and laid it on each other. So the next thing I'll do now is to get the radius of the flare. I'll be cutting it using the hip measurement. I'm using the hip because it's going to have an elastic band. So if my hip measurement divided by 6.28, and that will give me 7 inches. So I'm just marking 7 inches round. So you know how we do it. On the pointed edge, just measure your 7 inches round. And after that, I'll just connect it together and blend. I'll need to measure it to be sure it's up to my hip measurement. So now here I have like 11 inches plus, which is okay. I'll go ahead now to take the length of the skirt. For the length of the skirt, I'll be making use of 24 inches. However, I'll be using 2-inch elastic for the band. So from here, from the radius, I'll go up by 2.5 inches. Because my elastic is 2 inches, but I'll be using 2.5 inches for the band. So I'll go up by 2.5 inches and mark 24 inches for the length, plus seam allowance of 1 inch. That makes it 25 inches. So I mark 25 inches. So the remaining of what I have here, that is what I'll just mark it straight and connect with a straight ruler, just to make sure that it's accurate. So I'll just measure what I have here and mark it all the way down. And after doing that, just connect with a straight ruler. And that excess will be cut off. I'll come over to this other side and repeat the same process. That is, I'll mark the skirt length on 24 inches. I'll add 1 inch seam allowance, making 25 inches. And I'll make sure that I take out 2.5 inches at the waistband before I mark my 25 inches. Likewise, I'll measure what I have here and mark it all the way down. Then I'll connect it with a straight ruler. Once that is done, the next for me is just to cut it off. And here is our handkerchief skirt. It's as simple as ABC. The cutting is as simple as ABC. This is it. So the next thing we'll do now is to move on to draft the draping that is going to be on the skirt. So let's go to the second part. This is the leftover from the 4 yards I used in cutting the handkerchief skirt. I'll be using this to cut out the drape that is going to be on the skirt. And I have folded it into 2, and I have 2 pieces, one for the front and the other one for the back. So the length of this piece is as long as 31 inches, which is appropriate for what I need. So I've marked 31 inches. And for the length, I'll be making use of 9 inches. You can decide to use more than 9 inches. But 9 inches is okay for me, seam allowance inclusive. So I'll mark it all the way down and connect with a straight ruler. I'll connect all the lines together, then cut it out, and that is all for the drape. We're done with the drafting part. The next thing we'll do now is to proceed to the sewing part. So here is the skirt. I'll just flip it and turn it right side facing each other. Then I'll go ahead to join both sides by half of an inch. So I'll take this place, I'll stitch it with half an inch. I'll repeat the same process on this other side too with just half an inch. I'll proceed now to work on the hemline. I'll fold the hemline twice and stitch it all the way around till I'm done. Once that is done, I'll take the waist and fold it into two to get the center point. So once I fold into two, I'll just notch the center. I'll just go ahead now to measure what I have here on the waist, and I have here just 23 inches. And back to this strip of fabric, remember we cut it earlier that we'll be using it for the draping on the skirt. So here is the two pieces, one for the front and the other one for the back. So it's unfolded already. I'll just notch the center, and after notching, I'll try and take the waist measurement so as to know the exact place to fix it on the waist. So unfold, I'll mark 10.5 inches. Oh, sorry, I mean 11.5 inches, and that will give me 23. You know, it's unfold. So I've already marked 11.5 inches. Then I'll just give it a notch. So these are the two pieces. And after notching, let me just notch it again so as to make it clearer. So after notching, I'll just, spread it open and go ahead to the sewing machine to fold round. I'll fold with half an inch. I'll stitch it with half an inch all the way around, except that place that I notch. I'm done with this. I've folded it round, except that area that will be attached to the waist. So you can see I have just 23 inches here. So that place will be attached to the waist of the skirt. I did the same thing to the other place that will serve as the back. Now let's attach the drape to the skirt waist. I'll place the drape, the wrong side of the drape, I'll place it on the right side of the skirt at the center. You know, we've already notched both center. So I'll make sure it aligns together. And after placing it on top of each other, I'll pin it round in such a way that it must align. So this is how it's going to look after top stitching, after attaching the drape to the skirt. The only thing left for us is to just attach the waistband, and that is all. Our skirt is ready. I've already cut out this piece for the band. It's on fold. I'll be making use of this elastic. It's 1 inch elastic, but I'll have to double it because I'll prefer to use a 2 inches elastic. On fold, I have here 3 inches for the waistband depth, but if I spread it open, I'll have 6 inches, and it's as long as 23 inches on fold plus half-inch seam allowance. So here it is for 23 inches long on fold, but if I've spread it open, that means I'll have like 46 inches. So I'll need to spread it open like this. Then I'll measure what I have here. So here is my 23 inches, and that's this half-inch seam allowance I'll be sewing it with. Now, since I already have the crease line here, so the first 3 inches I'll stitch that place, and the next 3 inches I'll divide it into three. The the first inch I'll stitch it, I'll leave the next 1 inch, and the last 1 inch I'm going to stitch it. So the one in the middle, that one will serve as a space for the rope to pass through. So I believe you understand. So from here to here I'll stitch. I'll continue my stitching from here to here. I'll leave a space here, then continue the stitching. Hope that is clear. So I've done that, and here it is. And after that, you have to top stitch this place. So you can see the hole that I left. So you need to just spread this and press it down and top stitch it so that it won't disturb our rope from passing through. Finally, we just need to attach the waistband to the skirt. And how do we do that? There's a notch on the skirt. that serves as the center front. So that is where we place the band in such a way that it has to align to the center of the band. So here it is. That is the center of the band. That place that the rope will pass through, that is the center of the band. So we'll start from the wrong side of the skirt. So like the way I'm doing, so I'll place it like this, then stitch around. Then after stitching around, I'll just bring it to the front, then top stitch. I'm through with the first sewing, so the next thing now is just to top stitch. Just fold like this, fold it half an inch and see it round, but make sure you leave some spaces for the elastic to pass through. Here is my elastic, 1 inch elastic, but I need to double this. I'll place it on top of each other like this, just slightly on top of each other, then stitch. And after stitching, this is what I have for the waist. The waist measurement is 29 inches. I'll reduce the elastic by 3 inches and I'll be left with 26 inches. So here I have 26 inches. And just because we want the elastic to sit well, I'll go ahead now to top stitch it. I'll stitch it round. I'll make a stitch on the elastic round, like 3 lines or 2 lines, but I'll be making use of 2 lines. This is how it looks after stop stitching. This looks finer and better. The next thing we'll do now is just to pass the rope inside, and that will be all for this tutorial.